All right, we're back for another week of chit chats and shenanigans. As we were recording, Amanda was telling us about a client situation that she was having, where this is kind of like a not a very like usual case, but I'll let you explain of just like what was kind of going on with her.
Oh yeah. So I was just saying I have a client who works in law enforcement. And her job is very demanding and stressful physically and mentally just because she's obviously putting herself in very stressful situations and chases and all kinds of stuff. And I don't think people realize that even just the quote unquote stress of having to like follow a more rigid meal plan, even if that client prefers meal plans to macros, it's just a lot to think about. And sometimes just people don't realize like what can release some stress. Just going and just eating, like removing the meal plan and eating whatever you feel like for a couple of days. I would never do this with a client that could not, that like doesn't know, that's not in tune with their body. You know what I mean? Like someone's like, oh, I'm just going to go eat McDonald's all day for 2 days. Like that's not the kind of
Yeah.
person. But this girl, like she's had a healthy lifestyle long before I was coaching her. And so she knows like she likes to eat really good food. It's not that. It's just, I was like, dude, like, I don't want you to worry about protein intake. I don't want you to worry about anything. I just want you to go eat whatever the hell you want for 2 days. If you eat 2 meals, if you eat 6 meals, I don't care. Like just go and like sit with your body and like really listen to it. If you're craving fruit, I want you to go have a bowl of fruit. If you're craving bread, go have bread. Like I don't care. I just want you to eat what sounds good and however much feels good. And she did. And like Monday morning, she was like, oh my God, my digestion is so much better. Um, and it's just having a few days off from having to think about that so much. It's a stress, even if it's a stress that's in your best interest. Um, Food is such a huge part of our lives. And even just being able to have like the satisfaction of eating something you're craving and just feeling really good about it and not feeling guilty about it. And just like she said when she came back, she's like, I just really wanted an acai bowl, like a big bowl of fruit. And oh my God, it was so good. And I'm sure that did more for her mental stress than anything else, just being able to like indulge in that fruit bowl. And
Mm-hmm.
it sounds small, but it's not.
Mm-hmm. I can piggyback off of that as an example. I have a client who's actually like working through some like gut issues. Like he didn't have any like H. pylori or SIBO, so like nothing super serious. But we were about 4 to 6 weeks into his like little protocol, not like a big thing or anything like that, but like we were being selective on foods and whatnot, making sure he eats the right things. But he works in engineering and he's also in school right now. And he had his honeymoon. He's like, Kayla, like, I'm going on my honeymoon. Like, can I like eat some food, have a little alcohol? And I was like, yeah, like let's just take a break from it for the week. Like, and he did pretty darn good. Like he told me everything he ate and like he wasn't an asshole about anything, but he enjoyed his honeymoon. And he's like, I've never had this before. He's like, in years, Kayla, where my gut has felt so good. He's like, I came back from vacation and he was gone for like over a week. Came back, everything was fine. And then the next couple days coming into it, getting back into his routine, he was like, I don't know what's going on. He's like, but like now all of a sudden, like my digestion's a little off again, like my feel a little bloated. And I was like, how do you feel stress wise coming back, getting back into the routine of things? And he's like, oh, like I'm a little behind in school right now and like trying to catch up. And I'm like, it's stress. I'm like, it's not anything to do with your diet. I'm like, it's stress. I'm like, you have to work on the stress portion. And he would talk about how he would go from like doing schoolwork at night to about 8:30, 9 o'clock and just try to go to bed. And I'm like, that in between, I'm like, you need to do something to shift gears and calm yourself down, bring your body into a parasympathetic mode, whether it's reading a book, doing breath work. Like doing breath work can do so much for your body, and it's just breathing the right way for crying out loud. So I'm like, start doing that. And so he's been really kind of trying to incorporate some of those things now. And I know like a lot of us too who are very type A can relate to that sort of thing where it's like just go, 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 and then like you before you know it like you could be doing all the right things but just that stress level of just everyday things can add up. So it just goes to show how having like a break can really make a difference for people, and just that you don't have to follow a strict meal plan all the time and still make progress.
Yeah. No, you're 100% right. And it's like you said too, you have to be really in tune with your client and know if that's going to be the right thing to do. Because for some people that um are kind of like that type A control freak, telling them that may stress them out more. So
Hmm.
it may not be go eat whatever you want for 2 days. It's I want you to eat your same meals, except for your last meal. I don't want you to weigh it out. I just want you to eyeball it. It's like
Yep.
you're keeping the foods the same. I just don't want you to use the scale. Just look at it and do that. Or I want you to add something like, I want you to add 2 servings of whatever fruit you want to your current meal plan. Don't measure it. It's like an apple, some like a bowl of kiwi pineapple. So like baby step it up a little bit. So it's not anything that's going to like unravel them in a sense of like, oh, fuck, I don't even know how to eat now. It's like, whoa, whoa, whoa. Like just add some fruit, add some fruit. But some people are that way. Like they're so used to being rigid that if you just like throw them out into the wilderness, it's going to make them more stressed. And then they might undereat at that point just to like be more
Hmm.
careful. We all know we've done that. Like if I'm
Yep.
not measuring, I'm just going to undereat. It's like, we don't want that. So it's got to be the right person that's their mentality is in a good spot for it. Um, and that client, she's super in tune with all of that. And she has a pretty damn good relationship with food. So I felt, and she's eaten intuitively before. Like she understands, like she doesn't get like, oh God, like, am I going to gain weight if I do that? Like she knows it's good for the long term. And something about that too, having that trust with your clients, so important. It's so important. Like she could have easily been like, oh, I don't know. She's not that way, but anyone can be that way. But when you've built that foundation with your clients, they know that, like, hey, if I say this, even if it's pushing them a little bit in a challenging way, they're like, yep, okay, I'm going to do it. I know this is in my best interest.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah, the same goes for even if life is perfectly fine, there's no stress whatsoever, but instead your body is stressed in that it will not recover into more of the expected rate as it should be. So even for myself in this last week, we ended up taking a deload. And so from there, just added some more food, cut steps in half, and no cardio for the 3 days after checking in, and then really just monitored how my strength was. And on Monday my lifts were still horrible. And so I immediately messaged Nick and I was like, dude, I'm like 75% of the way there. Like 4 exercises in, I wanted to call it quits and just leave. And he was like, so leave. And I was like, are you sure? And especially as a type A, you almost want to lean in to finish the workout as soon as you can and just check it off the list, even if the rest of the half didn't make any sense at all. But sometimes you just have to understand, when enough is enough, or else your body's not going to recover.
Hmm. I think taking these things like with hunger and with training, like you just mentioned, is like really, really big with being just in tune with your body of how you're feeling and when to auto-regulate yourself, and that's important too. Like one, communicate with your coach just like Carolyn did. And two, like, and that's where like us coaches coming in for the week, like want you to message us and tell us like what's going on. Like don't wait for something like that till your check-in and be like, oh yeah, I felt like shit on like Tuesday and your check-in's on like the following Wednesday. And it's like, well, why didn't you tell me this, And then you push through and like you have to take a longer break, versus like, I know I've had weeks where I just tell Luke and I'm like, I just like really just don't want to go to the gym this week. And that's really unusual for me. And I'm like, I'm just kind of sick of it. I'm tired. And he's like, take 3 days off the gym, and he's like, just do your steps and like that's it. And I'm like, okay. And 3 days and I'm like, okay, I'm ready to go back to the gym. And nothing's really changed. So that auto regulation, especially with food too, and like what we were talking about earlier, I kind of use that sometimes to kind of like give my clients little challenges and be like, hey, like I want you to do this weekend because they're either severely type A where they're so like picky about stuff, or they're learning and be like, I want you to pick whatever, and then like you push them outside their comfort zone. Like sometimes you can't just let them go free, otherwise I know when I was younger, I'd be like, oh, 2 days of just whatever I want. I'm like, okay, I'm gonna have pizza and donuts and stuff. And like, I wouldn't have trusted myself. So it just, that auto regulation is important. And I think something that coaches should teach their athletes and clients as well.
Yep. No, 100%. Because I think a lot of us get stuck in, you kind of forget how to eat, you forget how to live outside of
Hmm.
following a direct plan. And I remember prep before last, no, sorry, this last prep, I didn't have a coach for a little while afterwards, and I just didn't measure or weigh anything for probably 6 months. I didn't track a damn thing. Like I trained 4 or 5 days a week really hard, but that was pretty much it. And I just kind of made sure I was eating protein at every meal. So I wasn't just like not supporting my training, but aside from making sure my protein intake was good, if I felt like pasta, I would eat pasta. If I felt like, rice, I'd eat rice. If I felt like a salad, whatever it was. And that's not something I'm saying everyone should do, but for myself, where I was at the time, I was like, I just need a break. I just need a minute
Hmm.
to not. And then, but when I first did it, I was like, I didn't even know how to like go out and just pick food. I was like, I went to the grocery store the first time and I was like so tempted to just buy my usual like prep foods, like
Yep.
my
Because
vegetables.
that's comfortable.
Yeah. And I was like, and Dan's like, what are you gonna get? I'm like, I don't know.
So you kind of walk around the store in like little anxiety mode for a second, like pacing,
Literally.
like, what do I do?
100%. Yeah, because I hadn't done that for like 4 years, like just gone to the store and bought what sounded good. So I
Hmm.
got some like potatoes and some sourdough bread. And I was like, I don't know, I've been really wanting a sandwich. So I got some like turkey and provolone. And I was like, I haven't had a provolone turkey sandwich since I was like in college, I think. You know what I mean? It was so strange. I was like, this is weird. Because normally, if I eat anything off the plan, it's like at a restaurant. It's
Right.
not like on your free meal or whatever. So yeah, it was one of the best things I did for myself, though. Like honestly, like allowing myself to do that. Because by the
Hmm.
time when I hired Cameron, I was so ready to lock in because I had given my mind that little bit of reprieve.
Hmm. I distinctly remember you too after that prep being like, guys, I don't know if I'm even gonna do this anymore. And like because it was a hard prep and like I don't blame you, like 100%. But sometimes you do just need that little bit of a break. And like that's why it's also good to like don't jump to conclusions and be like, I just don't want to do this because it was a bad prep or wasn't fun, and sometimes you just need that little break like you had, and then now you're like more locked in almost.
Yeah, no, yeah, just for context, guys. Sorry, I probably should have been like, oh, I just like finished prep and then just ate whatever. It's like there was a lot of stuff leading up to that. Like I had been with my same coach for about 3.5, 4 years. A week out from USA's, I decided to part ways with him, and it was totally like amicable and fine. It was just not a good fit anymore, and it was becoming like painful almost. Um, we were just not aligned on a few things, and going into that, or I was 2 weeks out from USA, sorry, and I would have never ever thought like that would be a good idea to change coaches 2 weeks out. But it was like unhealthy. You know what I mean? Like it was just not, it wasn't good. So I just had a really good friend of mine who's a coach, like help me into that show. And I wasn't like hiring anybody yet. I was just having him help me. And that prep mentally took a part of my soul. Not just because how physically brutal it was, which it was the hardest 6 months of my life physically. Um, what the I stuck it out, and I was 100% for that entire prep. And I even though my body was like really fighting me a lot of it, and we got there, man, but it was just I knew at the end, I was like, okay, I have to be like really real with myself right now. And it's not even that I didn't even want to eat shit. It wasn't that. Like I reversed my weight up like pretty steadily, like I usually do. It wasn't just like 30 pounds in a month. Like that's not what happened. I just needed to kind of do some work with myself. Like it was just, I needed to give myself a little bit of a break. Otherwise, it wasn't going to be sustainable for me anymore. And like you said, after that prep, I was like, I don't know if I'm going to compete ever again, which is crazy for me because you guys know how much I love this, like how much I eat, sleep, and breathe it. But I just learned for myself that there are certain aspects of this sport I figure out what's too much, you know what I mean? So that I can keep doing it long term.
Mhm.
And one of those things is after a show, like I've been doing this long enough, I know how to eat, and I just need to give myself a little bit of a mental break with the food for a little bit. And as long as my weight's doing what it needs to do and I'm healthy and all that stuff, or even like maybe reverse 8 weeks and then just give myself a little bit of reprieve with macros or something like that. So
Mhm.
needed a break for sure.
Mhm. Yeah, because we've
No,
all
and
been
breaks are
there.
good.
What, Carolyn?
Yeah, no, exactly that. It is breaks are really good and we need them, especially for how long we've been doing at this, you know, gosh, 2009,
You've been doing this the longest.
unfortunately, and I'm the least shredded. I'm so weak.
I think that you've also had probably one of the most challenges between everybody.
Mm.
So I think that's a big factor too, you know?
Yeah, a lot of health issues, that's for sure. Um, but the thing is too, I can't blame myself for any of that in the past
No.
because do you really think people were taking lab work in 2009?
No. I had no idea.
No, no one knew about it until
Mm-mm.
2018, 2016. That's when people started to really focus in on functional health, quote unquote, and look at lab work, do protocols, taking steps back from the gym, taking more rest. That did not exist when I started. Instead, the only value of knowledge that you could find were either, no, it was in the magazines. I was not on the forums.
Mhm.
Forums around maybe 2010, 2012. But this sport is also the fastest I've ever seen it in terms of knowledge and growth and seeing athletes turn pro in one season. That is completely unheard of. But the problem with that is there's such unrealistic expectations with these newer athletes. They immediately go into their first prep and think they're going to become pro that same year. And do they ever become successful pros? No. It's very, very few and far in between of successful pros who get their pro card under 2 years, compete in the pro league, and continue on. Most of the pros that are up there, it took them a long time to get up there. And also to be successful at that pro level takes a very, very long time. No, I have not become lucky enough to win my pro card. But at the same time, I know the people like you, Kayla, who have had to work many, many years up to that point. So you could be at the level of expectation.
Mhm.
So I just want to, remind people out there that this takes many, many years. And you do have to go into your own personal journey, particularly if you've had health issues like myself, where it's always been one roadblock after the next roadblock. And it always will be, but I think that makes me a better athlete because of it.
I agree. And like, I have to commend you too, because like, you've done one show, just that one season, right?
Two, two
You
shows
you
in
did two
one
shows the
season.
one season. Yep.
Hmm.
So just to give a backstory to everybody else, like Carolyn's been doing this since 2009, and she's the prime example of like, don't just get on stage just to get on stage. Like, there's many times where she could have done that and stuff, but like, she worked her ass off to get on stage when there was that 2020, was that 2021 or 2022?
22.
22.
Yeah.
So from 2009 until 2022, Carolyn worked her ass off, had started preps, had to stop because of health issues and things that came up. And like, it's just not her best, wasn't in her best interest to prep. And like, she pulled herself, but she kept going. And like, there's so many people nowadays that are just so like anxious to compete and want to go, go, go that like one little thing comes up and they're like, "Ugh, I'm just gonna quit." And it's like, don't be a pussy. Like, you're gonna get into trouble and like you're gonna get into like things that happen. Like, isn't that part of like chasing goals is like overcoming adversity, and like that's what makes you stronger into this and makes you enjoy it more. Like the people that just get there like right away, like the first thing that came to mind was like the girl that got second to me at USA's, like it was like her second show and she was very young and she was like she said to me, she's like, Kayla, she's like, I don't even really know what to do right now. She's like, don't even believe this. And like, which is great for her. Like, she got it, like, and she has a great physique, but like, she hasn't competed since then, you know? And like, I don't know if she's still competing or not, if she's going to, but maybe she's taking the time. I don't know. But it's just sometimes like, you don't even really know what you're getting into. Like, I didn't even know what an IFBB Pro was until like 3 years into bodybuilding. And I was like, oh, I want to do that. And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So like take the time, people. Like things are gonna come up, things go backwards a lot. You gotta dig yourself out of a hole. Like if anyone has issues, talk to Carolyn. She will tell you like how hard this shit can be sometimes.
Stop being a pussy.
Yeah. I'll send my people if they have problems. I'm like, you need to go talk to Carolyn, and you can just tell them, be like, yeah, that's nothing. This is what I did, you know?
I don't know if
Oh,
anyone ever sees the movie A Christmas Story.
yes.
They're starving people in China. That's what I just tell people.
Just
I think
remember, they're starving people in China.
keeping the light on too.
Oh, whatever works.
No, it got
Hi,
dark.
Dan.
Hi, guys.
Dan's always our special guest that pops in on the podcast.
I know. I know we have to always podcast at the time, like right when he gets home from work.
Right on
Uh,
schedule.
yeah, exactly. No, but it's so true because there's a big difference between there's like two ways to look at it. It's like obviously if you're having like health problems, then pausing a prep would make sense. Like if
Yep.
there's like physical stuff going on that if you continue, like your body's gonna get worse or you're gonna put yourself in a hole, like that's different. Um, or like finances, that's another good reason. Like if something
Mhm.
detrimental happens and you're like, if I do this show, it's gonna put me in a really bad financial place, like that's also a good reason. You know what I mean? Protect your financial security. Um, but I can't think of one damn prep where I didn't have a bunch of shit happen. I mean, if you're looking at it from a prep is 4 to 6 months long, at what point in your life did you have 4 to 6 months where nothing challenging came up or obstacle that you
Mhm.
had to overcome, whether it's work, family, friends, relationship? Um, and like I'm having one of those weeks right now. Like I was telling you guys before we got on, like I am so far past overstimulated right
That's a
now.
good word.
Yeah, and it's not anything bad. Like it's that's why like a lot of people will build a real like I feel so stupid, you know what I mean? In a sense of I feel guilty even feeling this way because it's all good things. Um I shouldn't say all, most of it's good things. Um and it's just there's a few things happening at once and there's a couple things that I wasn't expecting to happen right now and they are with like one job and it's good stuff, but man, I'm like, I get to the point where I just feel like super frozen and desensitized because I don't even, you know what I mean? Like I'm just so overwhelmed isn't the right word. It's more so just like I have so many things to do. I feel frozen, you know?
Yeah, it's like you said, overstimulated, but also you're kind of just like, okay, I need to like kind of just shut off my emotions and just like complaining about it right now isn't going to make anything get done faster or get better. So I'm just going to do it and then I'm just going to sit and then I can just vent later to Dan or to us and then like we'll be good. And then it's just like we just move on with the day. And like sometimes that's stuff just happens.
Yeah. No, it's so true. And I had a few moments this week and today, I literally had a moment today where I was like, should I be prepping right now? Like, is this, I rarely do that. Like, I don't question, the only time I've ever questioned my preps is like health stuff. Um, if my body's just not responding and my body's actually responding the best it ever has,
Mhm.
which is what even more frustrating. And I'm just like, am I going to make it? Like, am I gonna make it? But and then I also know that like it's just a day, it's just a week that I just had a lot going on and it's all good stuff. And all I'm gonna do is just get organized, get my schedule organized. And if there's some things I need to like renege my commitment to in order to make things more manageable, then I need to do that. And just be honest with the people around me with where I'm at, and ask for help. You know what I mean? And that's
Yeah.
the hardest thing for me to do because I feel like I'm being a burden. You know what I mean? Like asking for help. And sometimes it's just stuff I need to do. Um, but I know it gets bad when um I'm not sleeping, and then my shoulders and my neck will like seize up and start hurting pretty bad. And I'm up till like 3 in the morning and then waking up at like 8. So I'm only sleeping like 5 hours, 4 or 5 hours. And then I'm waking up every hour or two, you know what I mean, in between that. And yeah, and that's usually like when all this starts to get janky is when I'm like, okay, I need to I need to figure something out. Yeah. So, but it's just like, okay, but I also want to prep so bad. Like I've waited 2 years to come back and I'm just going to figure it out and it's going to be fine. And I figured it out before and I'm going to figure it out this time and it'll be good.
Yep. Yep, I agree. And like in regards to like, when's the best time like to do things, like there's never the right time to do anything.
No.
When your body's ready, when you're in a good groove, when your coach finally is like, I think we've added enough size, like cool. Just that doesn't mean like be a hermit and go do nothing, like with anybody, of course. Like you can't just sit in your apartment, your house, and just like do prep things. You're gonna go crazy for one, because you're gonna be hungry and you're just gonna think about food, and that's not good. And two, like you still need to be social, you still need that interaction, but like that's where your relationship with food comes into play, because it's like, can you still go out to eat and be social with people? Because a lot of times things happen around food settings. So it's like, can you just go out and just be like, I'm just gonna have a Diet Coke or a water and like I'm good with that, because you're there to be social, not to eat. And once you start to ask yourself that, like, why am I actually here? Like you start to learn, like, am I just here for the food? Like, because I mean, I did that sometimes where I was like, oh, this is actually kind of like isn't very fun. Like, really don't like hanging out with these people. I'm like, this is kind of boring. So you'll find that out too. But I mean, just obviously don't plan a vacation in between like your preps and stuff like that. Like, I mean, you're gonna be at the Arnold and everything. So like, but that's a little different. Like we're around a whole bodybuilding community and stuff where it's like normal to eat, cold chicken out of a baggie. So like it just is what it is. But like I have a client too going to the Arnold, and she's not prepping, but she's just in a cut. And I'm like, we're going to treat this like prep because this is going to set us up for prep. And she was asking me, and she's like, what do I do? She's like, I would like to go out to eat once. And I'm like, okay, we can do like a steak or something, like keep it cleaner. But I was like, unfortunately, you might just have to eat some cold fish and chicken out of baggies. It just is what it is. And she was like, okay, cool. That sounds good, Kayla. And like, gave her some tips of like in the hotel and whatnot. But like, that's what I expect. Like, just because you're on vacation, you can still enjoy it, but stick to your plan.
Yeah, 100%. It's just honestly, now that like, sorry, like I'm on this podcast and now I'm kind of like working through, like you guys can probably hear in my voice. I'm just a little bit, I'm not my usual like perky, as I'm not that I'm perky, but I'm a little bit like more down.
Mm-hmm.
It's almost like, sorry, my dog is whining, so I'm pinging him on his little e-collar. It's almost like I feel unworthy of this prep because my mind is in so many places. And if I'm not eat, sleeping, and breathing just prep this whole time, every minute of every day, then I'm not working hard enough. You know what I mean? And it's like,
Mm-hmm.
I'm getting my steps in, I'm doing my cardio sessions, and I'm eating my meals. Like that's really, and my training, obviously. That's really all there is to be done. But because my brain is still focused on so many other things, it doesn't feel as stressful. Like the prep, like my prep is my least stressful thing in my life right now, which normally it's the other way around. Normally I'm
Yeah.
like hyper focused on, am I leaner? Do I have more lines? Am I progressing? Like, what's going on here? Am I training? Are my glutes big enough? No, they're never going to be. But it's like all this stuff of like hyper focusing on it. And I'm just not, and I'm executing. And maybe there's something to that because my body's also responding the best it ever has. And maybe it's like, see, like just go do the thing. Um, You don't have to be super obsessive and be constantly thinking about it all the time, as long as you're executing exactly what you should. That's really all that there is to be done. But for some reason, I feel, oh, I'm not mentally in it like I usually am, in a sense of it's my only focus right now, just because I have so many other things that are taking my attention. I feel like unworthy of the prep, like, oh, I don't deserve to prep. You know what I mean?
Mhm. I can tell you for sure, like going into my prep 2021, that I knew I was gonna get my pro card that year. Like I just knew it, and everything just like it was the least stressful prep I've ever had. So like just like how you feel right now, where you're just like things are just working, and like there were times during that prep where I questioned, I'm like, am I even in prep right now? Because like at one point I was eating like 1,700 calories and I was shredded, and I was like doing like 20 minutes of cardio, and my body was just responding. So like when you're in a really good place, things just really flow. And so like I totally get what you mean by like it's just like mentally you're like, but this isn't hard enough right now. Like this isn't stressful. Should I even be doing this? Like am I worthy? And like that's where I felt too. And I was like, nope, I just need to like let things just be as they are. I'm just gonna do my thing and just let it be. And like what happens, happens. I know I'm working my ass off. I'm doing everything I can, but things just feel good. So let it feel good. And it's like to me, that's a good thing. Like that this is the least stressful thing in your life right now. So like it means you're in a good flow and things are gonna work out just like as they should. And that's just like once you accept that too, and like not have to try so hard, like do you know what I'm saying? Like
Yeah.
it just
No.
it just
No,
happens.
Yeah.
no, I've always had to die, so I can't relate.
No, Caroline, I was just gonna say, this is what's so weird about this prep for me. I've only ever been able to prep through pure misery, and I've only ever had to die.
Hmm.
And I don't have to die this time. And it feels weird. Like I feel like I'm
Hmm.
cheating. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Even though like
Right.
I followed everything 100%, except the only time I didn't was when I got really sick last week. And I texted Cameron and he was like, and I was like, I'm extremely sick. So he's like, yeah, well, don't do cardio or training. I followed my meal plan 100%, but I just couldn't be in the gym because I was like very sick, which is understandable.
Hmm.
But aside from that, it's like I've been following everything, but I'm not suffering. And that feels wrong.
Hmm.
Feels like that I'm not actually prepping, you
Hmm.
know? And there's so
Hmm.
many people I know that don't have to die in prep. And I'm like, oh man, like what a unicorn, like that'll never be me. I'm only gonna ever be able to get on stage if I'm like limping up there. And like I've always had to do like well over 2 hours of cardio and protein veggie days. And yeah, and like not 4 weeks out, like weeks out, like months out.
Hmm.
Um, it's never once been something I didn't have to like claw to get there. So this feels really weird.
Well, it was exactly like all of well, I would say it was November until February, the last attempted prep, where it was 900 calories a day, doing 500 calories of cardio, burning 500 calories of cardio, and then knowing I had 25 pounds to go. Like, not even a toddler eats 900 calories a day. And I said that, and it was, you just continue on. You just continue pressing forward. Of course, I, paid the consequences for that, but there was also a lot of other stuff in play. So I think, you should definitely soak in this easy time because you've worked so hard to get up to that point, and you've had to go through a lot in order to feel this quote unquote easy period. Yes, there are going to be hard days ahead, but you have so much else going on, personal life, work life. If prep is the least stressful thing right now, I would say just continue putting all of your effort, all of your focus into personal and work right now. And then just remember that all of the things that you need to do in prep, we know you're going to check off the boxes. Cam knows you're going to check off the boxes. He's not worried about you. But if you do need that extra help in prep personal work, then definitely ask for it, even though I know you don't like to. But it's really going to help you out in the long run and continue to make sure that this is an easy prep.
Yeah. No, you're totally right. That's the thing is like it's you know what's so funny, you guys, is when I talk to people that are not like super familiar with the sport, they're asking like how like, oh, like so what is that? Like what are you doing? And I tell them like where my prep is right now, like, oh my gosh, isn't that so hard? Like not being able to eat. I'm like, you guys, this is a fucking cakewalk. Like, are you kidding me? I'm not going hypo on my warm up for my training session. Are you joking me? I'm not like crying on the treadmill, feeling like my every joint in my body hurts and I feel like I couldn't possibly move another step. I'm not, you know what I mean? I'm like, you no, like a hunger that's so painful. You haven't slept in like literally 3 days. You know what I mean? Like I'm like, no, if the this is nothing. And I think maybe if like that's my standard of what prep is usually, and now I'm like, oh, like I'm still working hard. It's just not excruciating. And that feels really, really weird.
I think it just shows you have like a really good coach now and like you guys have a good relationship. He's figured your body out really well. You've put the work in the off season to set yourself up for a good prep. Like, and Carolyn, you're doing the same thing right now because you guys have the same coach. So like you're had to fix your gut and stuff like that. And now you're working back into training and like, so how is all that going for you compared to like previous experiences?
Well, we are on a cut right now. So I started that at the end of January. And so going through that now, it was funny because like we had the first 2 weeks of the diet and then my body was wrecked. But at the same time, we were really happy to see that response from my body because there's been we had so much time all of last year against, allowing ourselves to push to failure. And so now that I'm allowed to push to failure, I'm like, wow, okay, this is what it's like to actually be sore again. This
Mhm.
is what it feels like to actually feel broken. And so with that, we weren't upset about it. We were like, okay, cool. We got that feedback, and you're going to take a deload for a few days, but monitor how you're able to recover. I found out, Monday, hey, almost there. But thankfully on Tuesday, I did already have a scheduled rest day with the snowstorm. So that extra rest day was actually perfect because yesterday's training was amazing. So you do have to go with the ebbs and flows. So I am curious to see, how this diet will go. I have been treating it like a prep. So making sure that every gram is to the zero, and then also making sure water is in, steps are in, cardio is in. Because, the one thing that no one likes to do is stay in a diet longer than you have to. So if
Mhm.
you can do everything correctly the first time, then you don't have to go back and reverse again
Yep.
and continue dieting for longer than you should be. But we do have a big goal, and we know like once we'll hit that goal, then we'll reverse out and then just rinse and repeat. And it should take me about 3 iterations. And I would say the last iteration would be technically a prep. So at least I know that, like in planning the year ahead, if we can do these three perfectly and really be on schedule continuously until the end of the year, then I could say, like, okay, maybe next spring that can be a possibility of competing again. So
Mhm.
I just hope I have more muscle. That's all I want. I was
Amen,
so
girl.
I was so
I'm so excited
tiny.
for you, dude. I'm so excited you're back
Thank
in the
you.
saddle though, like actually
Yep.
able to like progress towards something. You don't feel like you're just kind of like treading, you know what I mean? Where you're just kind of like not treading, but waiting for certain markers to get in certain spots. It's like now you can actually be like working towards a tangible thing.
I'm happy to actually love bodybuilding again and also know who's in the Arnold because when the Olympia came around last year, I could care less. I already knew. I was like, okay, Sid is probably going to retire. Yeah, it's about time for C-Bomb to retire too. Cool. But I'm like, oh, okay. Now I'm like, wow, there's like nobody for fitness. Ariel's not in it. Like, who's going to be in bikini? Are people actually going to show up? It's like you get that kind of like butterflies in your stomach, your excitement of like making your predictions and understanding, seeing where people are at within the sport itself, because I just took all of last year off because my health was in such a bad place, and mental health and physical health was in the trash can, that I really did have to take a step away from the sport, or else it just made me miserable. So why do that to myself if it's not going to benefit myself and my own happiness?
Mhm.
So glad to be back. Yay.
We're glad you're
to have
back.
you back.
Thank you.
Oh, I'm so happy for you. I can't wait. And it's, Cameron is a gem. Like it's funny, like before I hired him, I knew I was gonna hire him like long before I did. I just, like I said, like I needed after USA's was done, I was like, I just need no coach for a minute because I knew I wasn't in a spot to be 100%. So I was like, I just need to do whatever it is I need to do, get myself right again, and get myself like super dialed. And I knew like when I hired him, like end of January, early February, I knew I was ready. I was like, okay, I'm ready to give you everything I've got. And I had about 6 months of just pouring into everything else. Like I was still training, but aside from those, like, 7-ish hours a week in the gym, I was like, no, I'm with my husband, focusing on my work, my clients, all those things. Um, but Cameron has just been, I'm trying to think of the best way to describe it because he's so definitive in what he wants to do. You know what I mean? There's not like, because I'm about to say he's incredibly kind and patient, understanding, but I don't want that to be misconstrued for someone that's like really like easygoing and just like, yeah, we'll do this. That's fine. Just let you kind of do whatever. Like he holds you accountable. He is a leader, and he knows exactly where he wants us to go. And I not only completely trust him in a sense of he has my best interest, but I just feel more relaxed with him because he doesn't ever make a big deal about anything. He's just like, yeah, we're going to do this, this, and this, and it's good. Um, and I've just always been like very aligned with all of his decisions. Like it makes sense. He answers any questions I have. And he's just been, he's been very steady for me. He's been a rock. He's just in a sense that he's done his job. You know what I mean?
Yep.
And that's what I needed. Like I just needed somebody who could just look at me and be like, calm down. You're going to be fine. And he
Mhm.
knows, like, he knows like the things I'm, insecure about with my physique and the things I'm worried about. And he's like, I got this. Stop. And I'm like, you're right. Okay.
And even though we're coaches, we need people to tell us that too. Like we can tell ourselves that all day long, but it's different coming from somebody who you see as an authority, as someone you trust, as somebody you look up to and everything. Cause like I feel the same way with Luke, where I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I was telling myself when I was getting my lab work done and I kept passing out, and I'm like, I was embarrassed, of course. And like I told Luke, I'm like, I'm really sorry. Like, I'm not trying to be a pussy. It just happens. And he's like, don't talk about yourself that way. And I was just like, oh, okay. Like because Luke is very like just direct and to the point, and like some to the point where I'm just like, yep, okay, like got it, like gonna do this. And but he still listens to my feedback too. Like he wants that and everything. And so like he makes sure to tell me like, no, like just don't be so hard on yourself because like I think we all do that to ourselves and we're all too hard on ourselves sometimes. And like you, like Luke's just very like we have a timeline, kind of like tentative of like what we're doing. Like we're getting on a call next week to talk about what's coming up next, what our plans are. And that I just really enjoy. And like I having free meals, like with having the girls around and stuff, now things just kind of come up and I'm like, I can't plan for it. Like we have the girls over and it's just like, okay, we're gonna go out for breakfast today. And I'm like, all right, I just have to shift gears. And like, so I have to just learn how to like just pick something and be okay with it. Where like a year, 2 years ago, I would have been like an anxious mess in my head, being like, how am I going to fit this into my macros? Like, I still need to go, but like, how do I please everybody and stuff? And now it's just like super chill. And like, he never says anything like demeaning or like, I can't believe you ate off plan kind of thing. Like, never anything like that. And like, obviously, in a prep, it's going to be different. Like, I'll be 100%, but like, Yeah, it's nice to have coaches that are just understand you, but also are very direct in what they want from you.
Yeah, no, totally. I would never want to coach myself. It's just I'm in my head all day and I'm good.
Hmm. I
Like,
would emotionally question myself way too much.
yeah, and it's just I can't
Yeah.
look at myself objectively. If
Hmm.
I were coaching myself right now, I would probably be like, I don't have enough muscle, I'm not ready. You know what I mean? And I probably would have been like, I need more time off. Um, and I cannot look at myself objectively. Like that's just one thing that I shouldn't say that. I can't not get a little bit emotionally invested in some of the way I look at myself because it's myself. Like, of course, I'm emotionally invested in me.
Hmm.
But so it's like I know where my weaknesses are. I know where my strengths are. Like that, I'm very clear on. I can be very objective in that way. But as far as making those weekly and daily decisions about how to get where I want to go, that's what I mean. I need somebody completely separate from me to
Yep.
make those decisions. Um, because that's the only way it's going to work really well for me. Like I just no, I can't do. I don't want to. I don't want the stress of having to do that. For my clients, it's totally different because I can look at them completely objectively and know exactly what we need to do because it's a different type of connection there. Whereas when it's my own physique, you know what I mean? There's just too much back and forth. And yeah, it's just
Second guessing yourself. Well, what
yes.
if this? What if that? And then your emotions come into play because then once you get hungrier, you get more tired. You're like, well, like I do feel kind of tired, and you start to just justify things, and like even though you're not trying to, that's just human nature, you know?
Oh yeah.
Or
And
the
a lot
opposite
of things
effect where you keep wanting to add more.
Yes.
that's
Yeah.
what I'll do. The
Yeah.
hungrier I am and the more I feel like I'm being a wuss, the harder I'd push myself. Like, oh, you think this is hard? How about this? And it's like,
Yep.
I'll starve more, I'll do more cardio. You know what I mean? It's just, and I'm like, that's not good either. That's like, what point am I proving to what fucking person? Like nothing. It's stupid. It makes no sense. There's no reward at the end of that. It's like getting a gold star for being more self-deprecating. It's the stupidest contest of all time.
Hmm. Hmm. It's funny because like when you talk about that too, like it like today at the gym, like I was doing like tricep push downs and like I was looking in the mirror and I was like, oh damn. Like, sometimes you see those things and you're like, look at that muscle. And like I looked at Tyler and I was like, I look kind of jacked. And he's like, kinda? He's like, you kinda are jacked. And I'm like,
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess so." And like that's how like it's just so like what's the word I'm looking for? Like we can be so subjective about ourselves. Like because I look at myself and like now that I'm competing with pros, in my mind, I'm not big enough. I'm still too small. I'm tiny, like I'm never gonna be able to add up to all this, whatever. But I've put on like a lot of freaking muscle this off season, and like this is the best composition I've had at this weight. And so I was just like, oh yeah, like thanks. I am like, okay. And then
You're
it's just
like,
like you're
oh,
just like
okay.
now I feel awkward talking about myself, like we can't do these things ourselves. And so that's why it's important to just have a coach to just this is the plan.
Yeah. No, 100%. I still have a really hard time doing that because it's like, I don't know. There's still, I just look at my own, and oh, sorry to say also, you have put on a fuckload of muscle. Like it's even hard sometimes because we see you pretty often, you know what I mean? But if I were to, like, when I look back at you like a year or two ago, holy crap, dude. Like it's such a bit, and that's not easy to do on your frame because of how short you are. Like you're a nugget and that's
Mhm.
not easy to do whatsoever. So, I mean, it's just a testament to taking the time and the patience and just doing the day in, the day out, doing the monotonous thing every day. That's
Mhm.
really what it is. It's like the monotonous thing over and over and over. And that's why most people are like, oh, I just get kind of
I
like,
get
how do you
bored.
stay motivated? I'm like, are you kidding me? I hated my workout last night. It was horrible.
Hmm. Oh yeah, there's days where I'm like, all right, lat pull downs once again. And like most of the time I like it because I like training back. But I do fucking single arm pull downs, single arm rows twice a week, every single week since almost a year. It's been almost a year. I haven't changed those movements at all. And
Yeah.
I'm still progressing in it. So it's like if bodybuilding literally is the definition of insanity, doing the same thing over and over again.
Yeah, why did we choose this again?
Because we hate ourselves.
Because we
Literally.
no, really, we love it. No, it's just like, when you're in prep and you just have some of those workouts sometimes where you're just like, I'm a limp noodle and
Like that
nothing.
was lackluster.
Oh, that's the worst, guys. And you guys know, I haven't had a pump in probably a year. So, I
Mhm.
mean, I shouldn't say a year. It's just there's only been a handful. Um, because my body's a tough one, but there's days that it's like, okay, this is like a 7 out of 10, like I'll take it. And then there's days like this is a solid like 2.5, 3. But you
Yep.
still like, I still love the gym. I'm just like, I know what it could feel like. And I'm like, come on, please. Just
I
like
know.
air in a tire. Come on, man. Like, give me something.
This might sound a
Yeah,
little bad, but I was telling Tyler today, I'm like, I kind of like really hope that like we can take just a little bit of Anaphar when I'm in prep, just to like, because you just get such a good pump and it just feels so good.
Why couldn't you?
We just haven't taken any.
Oh, that one specifically. Got it. Yeah.
Yeah, I
I'm
just
sure in prep you would.
I'm assuming so. I haven't asked him. Like we just haven't gotten to that point. So like there's no point in asking right now.
Got
But
it. Yeah.
no, I've just done like test and like a little bit of primo and like that for me and GH but that for me just like works. You don't get as good of a pump as like Anavar, but also like my liver is like happy about that,
Yeah. Yeah.
and no side effects. So I'll keep it like that.
Do you ever have like liver impacts from Anavar? I feel like we take such low doses, it's like near impossible.
oh, you do. You get
I
it
do sometimes.
actual. You do.
Oh,
Okay. Wow. Okay.
Mhm. Well,
I
just
never
because
have.
I'm so like
Mhm.
I want to say cortisol driven, like that's the first thing that like kind of goes up for me. So that then impacts my liver and just like my labs have been like I've had high liver values, but like I just have to watch it and just make sure it's fine. And I can't be on it for like an extended period of time. So, and I'm assuming like we wouldn't do that again. So yeah. That
Right.
was really the only thing. But I always take like a liver supplement and stuff just because it is an oral. So like, and when you take any oral, you should take a liver supplement. Just putting that out there. But but yeah, and this honestly will probably be the first time that like I have a coach that tells me like we need to get stuff like labs like throughout instead of just right before and then like 6 weeks after. Like I'm like, okay, well I want to know what's going on like during also. So
Right. And the interesting thing too is Kayla, you know her, and we've been trying to figure this out because a lot of the times, we do take all these tests and we know the two markers right now that are inflamed, but her GI is just not there. Like she'll be, so she will experience very extreme cramps, and it's been constant in the morning. Her labs are fine, as in hormonal. She's done several tests with the doctor on digestive. And then, so now she's going to do another GI map, even though it's only been a few months and it came back clean. So now we're trying to figure out, okay, well, yes, she does experience the most amount of cramping after drinking water, but it's not SIBO because we've done
did
the
she do
breath
a
test.
doctor's SIBO test? Because a GI map will not detect that.
No, that's already all been done. That's
Okay.
all been done. But the GI map is going to be separate for the other, markers. We want to see if,
Mhm.
parasites, just in case, because it has been about a year. But that one we're really trying to figure out. Personally, I say, she's in a bad enough situation. I would say, hey, yes, you've listened to everything that your coach has said. Yes, you did everything that your doctor has said. I would definitely recommend reaching out to Aaron Crawford. Aaron's very good about those very unusual cases, and being able to dig them out. So that's one. And I'll message you guys separately on like to the other symptoms that she's been going through. Um, but there is a high stress personal life and then also work life too.
That's
And
the
she
key
know,
thing right there.
but yeah, but she's done everything you can imagine to lower that stress. Like, so for instance, she's revamped her entire schedule. Yes, her parents are getting older and she has to be there for medical appointments. But there becomes a point when you're lowering stress so much. There's a lot of things in life you just can't change. You can't change your workload. Because that's your paycheck. You can't change going to medical appointments for your family. Yes, so instead of, going to the gym very early, she will just take her morning at ease, go for a walk, go to the gym when she feels like it, so that it goes along with her workload because she is an online coach and she can adjust her schedule and manipulate it in a way that can be the least stressful. So we've talked about this at length and we're honestly at the point I don't know what to do. Like, and so I don't know. It's just been on my mind because we had a long discussion at the gym yesterday together, trying to narrow this down, but there's like so much at play, but not enough.
Hmm.
And
Can
so
I
when
ask
you
a
come in,
question
yeah,
from her? Or sorry, I can't
yeah,
talk.
go for it. Go
How does her like, okay, because when we talk about this, I love this conversation, by the way. Like I think this is like one of my favorite things to talk about. Because like you said, Caroline, you're absolutely right. Like you can't tell people like, oh, well, just go get rid of your kid and your job and things that you
Mhm.
can't do that. I don't think like when I talk about minimizing stress, I don't really think of it in terms of removing things, except for maybe things that are easy that like low hanging fruit, right? Like maybe someone's just really overcommitted and they really just need to dive into their schedule and taper some things back. Like, hey, stop being a yes person and say no to some shit. You know what I mean? Like if it's too much.
Yep.
But really, my question for a lot of these people that are struggling is like how their life um how they perceive their life, like the day-to-day things. So what I mean by that is when like little obstacles come up, what's their knee-jerk emotional reaction? How do they process that in their mind? Because you'll have two people. You'll have the person over here, and these people usually don't have GI issues and or really many issues at all. Things come up and they're like, okay, yeah. And it doesn't start building and building. They just address it and move on. Um, they don't hyperanalyze, they don't build a story around it, they don't internalize it. It's just like if their boss says something to them, they just are like, okay, cool, yeah, I'll do that thing and then move on with their day. And then you have this person that's like, well, what did they mean by that? Why did he say it like that? Was he trying to be passive aggressive? Was my boss like, he was really just trying to say I'm not working hard enough. I could just tell. Is that person, that's like, oh my God, I knew this was gonna be a bad day. I woke up and like my dog peed on the floor. I knew this was gonna be a bad day. Or they go to work and someone's doing something, or like maybe you drop something, you're like, see, oh my gosh. And it's just like that person, how they internalize it becomes stress. Things that don't need to become stress becomes it for them because that's just how they're used to moving through their life. And then you have the other person that would never think like, oh, their dog peed on the floor in the morning. Like, oh, buddy, I should have taken you out sooner. Sorry about that. We'll get you here. No water, for a little bit. Versus the other person that was like, I knew this was going to be a bad day. I could tell my horoscope said blah, 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 or whatever the hell they read. And it's literally how they process, internalize, and digest day-to-day things in their life that causes those people to have these problems. And you can remove, so like Caroline, like you said, like you can remove this, that, and the other. But if they're still thinking that way, and a lot of times people that tend to think in a victim mentality, and before anyone freaks out, I don't mean that in a sense of like, oh my God, everything happens to me. Yes, there's those people. But when I say a victim mentality, I mean a powerless mentality. Like them saying, oh, this all thinking everything's happening to them, that they have no control. And these people, I know they have this mentality when they're like, I don't have a choice. I have to do this. My boss asked me to do this. I have to, or I have to go pick up this thing from the store, or I have to do this. And it's just like, they have no power in their life whatsoever, even though they designed it that way. Like they got the job they have. They chose the partner that they have. They chose to have the dog that they have. They choose to surround themselves with the friends that they do. And yet everything is, I had no choice and I have to in their mind. Therefore, it leaves them completely powerless to do anything about it. And that they're just a victim to their own life and situation. Those are the people that have the most fucked up GIs.
Yeah, it's very true. Yeah, no, I just keep thinking about it, and unfortunately, she's not one of those. She's she's done a lot of work to not be on the victim mentality. But I wouldn't say it's victim mentality. It's just like, oh, I have to do this. I have to do this. I
Just
have.
like anxiety, general
It's
stuff.
like,
Yeah, and that's just like one example. It could
Yeah.
be like 20
yeah,
things. Yeah, that's
but
just like
that's
the most
such,
common
yeah,
one.
it's such a good example because we do know so many people like that that are constantly wondering why they have upset GI or why they have constant health issues or these autoimmune conditions that are happening. Well, it's one, everything stems from the gut, and you really have to fix your internal health before you decide to add continued stressors like a prep or
Hmm.
go into powerlifting, or these extreme sports. You have to look at yourself where you are now and where do you want to go and how to achieve that. Um, yeah, it's just one of those things where, we've checked off all the boxes and have thankfully, she has the lifestyle where she can take that flexibility and manipulate her schedule so that she can take care of this. But she is so frustrated that she's done all of that flexibility and changes to her life to make sure it is picture perfect, yet everything is still not working. So it's going to be interesting to see, what other changes we can do. Right now, she's on a low histamine diet for now. So we've been doing that for the last 3 days and to see if there's any, little changes. It's just another thing to try. It's just one other thing, but also I don't want her to think that she's broken. To
No,
cause,
well, I
yeah,
never think anybody is that way.
no, there's so many times where, I mean, I thought myself too. I was like, well, I'm never going to be able to prep because I'm broken.
I've been there.
So
Totally.
yeah,
Yeah.
like the reason my prep didn't happen for 10 years was because I thought I was broken and it was just I just had to die in order to just get on stage, which I did. But in other case, and with that, so we're just gonna have to, continue pressing forward. So I'll keep you guys updated as to what progress can be made out of this.
Hmm.
But there are going to be those hard cases. There's going to be
Yeah.
some hard ones out there, and thankfully, we have such a great network over the years with both of you and then with our mentors in our lives that we can go to and say, hey, I've got a question, because
Yeah.
none of us are pros at this. We always can
No.
find an answer if we
There's
don't know the.
always new things too. Like
Oh my god, yeah.
no case is ever the same. Like that's the thing that I learned pretty quickly after like going through like mentorship classes and stuff, which the classes are great. Like you should have like an understanding of all this stuff, but like there's no absolutes with things. Like that's why all these like protocol coaches and stuff, like it's not just like a cut and dry, here's the protocol. Like it's very variable per person and each thing's going to change throughout. So there's like I can never give a guarantee to somebody. Like so to go off of like what Carolyn's saying, like if you have stuff, like I would love to take a look at it. I have a couple questions that might be helpful, maybe, just about like her diet and stuff. I know you said you're doing a low histamine, but just where her commensals are at, like all her like mucosal barrier support, stuff like that. Because there's a certain colostrum I use. It's kind of expensive, but it like fucking works. It's really, really good. So I can give you some help on that if you want some help with it.
I don't, well, is the colostrum a powder or is it capsules?
It comes in either one. The one that I use is a powder, and I just have them mix it in their like morning drink, usually.
This is my toxic trait, is that I can't take powders that mix with water. You guys, I will vomit I cannot, and I don't care what any company fucking tells you. It tastes so good. It tastes like ass. I'm sorry. It does. It all does. I can't. I need to get that out. But I remember Austin had me wanting me to take Kolosh, and I go, is it a powder? He goes, yeah, but you can barely taste it. I go, horse shit. I'm gonna taste it and I'm gonna throw up everywhere. It's gotta be a capsule. I can't. Even like, you know what, the smell of vitamin B?
Oh,
Like every time I take it, I gag a little bit. I've thrown up the pill before because I have such an aversion. I have such an aversion to that stuff. You know, it's the only powder I've ever been able to take without hurling. I hate to say it, but that New Ethics Gourmet Greens, the strawberry kiwi one,
that stuff is so good.
that's the only one. And even though it's only strawberry kiwi, but even still, like in the last couple years, I've tried a couple times and I'm like, I can't. I could do it when I'm like starving on prep. I was like, okay, this I could drink every day and I'm not going to throw up. I'm not saying I loved it, but I could tolerate it. But man, I cannot, like, even like magnesium powder. Fuck no. Hell no. It ain't happening. Like, I'm sorry. I'm not gonna, I'm just thinking about it.
I like the espresso one, and I take a little bit of PB Fit and put that in there, and I mix it into like a pudding, and then I put it like on top of my yogurt.
Oh my God.
Kayla, you've been doing that since like 2019.
I know.
Forever. It still is so good. I do it every single night. It's my like nightly sweet thing.
Her one prep hack is just mixing the espresso
Yep.
with PB Fit on rice cakes.
Yep.
I'm
That's it.
fucking dying because it's the minute she said it, I go, here we go with the espresso. And the
And in my head, I was like, oh no.
Oh
No,
no,
we're gonna talk about the espresso. And that's why you said I hate to say it, but the no ethics. And I was like, ooh, espresso.
I know. I'm sure you were just like,
I was like, I'm ready to jump in on this
By
one.
the way, it hasn't been mentioned on the podcast. Now it has.
It's like the one thing. Like that and Cordy's. The Cordy's, man, that's a great product.
Yeah, but why is it $54?
True.
It's not made of gold.
Code to make it $45, and then that's probably what the price should be.
50 at best, even with my own discount code, you know, like 10% off. But also the other one was your new prep hack, which was mixing the protein drink with
the Diet
soda.
Coke.
Yeah, with Diet Coke.
God, you guys, this was fucked up. I'm sorry. It's good, but
I just laughed when I got your text. I was like, she's so deep.
and I'm not. I'm not.
I'm
I'm
like,
not.
And you're not.
Yeah,
you're not.
That's just no. That's why I'm like, no. This is bye, baby. I love you. Everyone say bye to Dan.
Bye, Dan. Have fun getting swole.
He's gonna go train. I can't go with him because all I do is train glutes, and I can't train back-to-back days. So,
Oh.
no, I was just like, we were in the car, and I had one of those vanilla core powers that taste like melted vanilla ice cream. Even in off season when I have no appetite, those things taste good. It's the only protein that doesn't taste like protein. And then I had a Coke Zero, and I was like, and I sat there, I was like, oh, that reminds me of getting like a blended Coke float from Sonic. Because when I was a teenager, they make blended floats there where they put like soft serve and they'll blend it with the soda. And it's like fluffy, but it tastes like Coke with ice cream. And I was like, Dan goes, I bet that would probably taste like that. I go, I wonder if it would. So I literally, no, I'm in the car. I'm like, this is either going to be really good or it's going to be disgusting. And I just mixed like a little bit of it just to like try it out. And I was like, holy shit. It's so good.
I have found greatness.
I was like, because I'm really not that hungry yet. Like I'm still like 17 weeks out, guys. Like I'm not, I'm not there. But I was just like, Ooh, and honestly, I was doing it because I've been feeling like gaggy about chicken. So I've been trying to get protein in a little bit easier and the liquids a little bit easier sometimes. And that's when I was like, oh, this shit's good. And I haven't even tried it with like sugar-free root beer.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, Fairlife Core Power Vanilla with Coke Zero or A&W Zero. No, wait. Yes, A&W Zero. Just saying, not the worst thing ever. If you're starving on prep, it's probably gonna fuck your life up in a good way.
It's so funny because like when you sent that, literally that same morning, Tyler made like a vanilla protein shake, like with less milk, and put his Diet Pepsi in there. And he's like, here, try this. And I was like, that's actually pretty good. And then you sent that, and I was like,
And for the people with the creamy, with that make the protein ice cream
there you go.
and root beer
Mm-hmm.
float right there.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
But
Easy,
yeah, that
easy.
was weird. I was like, shouldn't want this, but
We're doing it. So
do you guys ever get like you know those like three things you have on prep that you think taste so fucking good and then you get out of prep and you're like what, and then you get into prep again and you're like, oh, here we go, I'm about to like eat my fucked up thing again.
I'm pulling out my prep things.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And it's funny, this one, there's a few of those that I have, like it's for me it's like the egg white pancake. It's not a pancake, it's just shaped like one. And then you put like the chocolate PB2 on it, and then like a little bit of peanut butter and like drizzle maple syrup on it, or the Walden Farm syrup before they fuck that up.
I do
That
like
was like
the
my
same
thing I
thing.
ate every night that would make me not want to like throw myself off a building. And it sounds so gross to me now. Like I usually the day I start prep, I start eating that, but I would never eat it in off season ever. Like no
Mhm.
fucking way. And this prep, I'm like, I no.
I have my things
Too much
too.
artificial.
Yeah.
Oh yeah. All the artificial things, as much as you can find, that's like low calorie. But at the same time, oh God, what were things that I did? I
You
guess
would
I just
put a soup bowl of syrup. You guys, this bitch comes to visit me in her prep. And she's like, hey, do you have any of the Walden Farm syrup? I was like, sure. She's like, has a bowl of like 30 grams of oats, right? And over every bite, she's like pouring it. And by the end of her 30 grams of oats, that chick has had half a bottle of Walden Farms. I go, what in the living fuck's going on?
I was like,
Just like soup.
I'm just
I'm
looking
being
for
a
something
little
sweet,
dramatic. I'm being a little dramatic, but not a lot dramatic.
it was a
We were
lot.
all there.
It was a lot of Walden Farm syrup. I probably owe you a bottle of Walden Farm syrup.
Oh my God, not at all. I love you for it because I totally get it. Because you were like 4 weeks out, I
I was
think.
5 weeks out.
Yeah, you were close. So it was like legit. But I was like, all right.
It was great because like I was 5 weeks out and Amanda was like just coming off of prep. So she was in her like, I'm gonna have a bar of Hue dark chocolate tonight after dinner. And like it was great. And like I was just doing my prep thing and like she was eating and I was like, I'm so happy for you. I'm like, I'm just gonna eat your Walden Farms.
You're like, I'm so happy for you and not happy for me right now. This
Yep.
is
I was dying at that point. So
for me in prep, the worst thing is the diet soda. Like I will fuck up some diet soda. And I mean like I'll have one of those like plastic bottles. What are those, like 17 ounces, 16.9 or whatever. I'll have maybe one or two of those plus like another two or three cans.
Dude,
oh
it's
My
no.
so
gut's always
bad.
fine. I've never had gut problems from that,
Right,
ever.
Some people
right. I
don't.
remember you.
Hmm.
Mm-mm.
Mm-hmm.
No, I will
House
say it was actually more so the peak week meals that I made for myself because we had the macro peak week meals, but it was like for 5 foods. So it's like, okay, well, how many combos can you do? If not even five, it was like four, three. And choosing the foods from that group and then just like mix matching them. And then I love about peak week is like every single day you look different. And then it's like hour by hour. Best thing ever. And then one meal that has stuck around even through off season and when it's been 3 years of off season. We'll talk about that. And it's been rice with Himalayan salt and the Costco almond butter and grilled chicken breast, all that together, and a little bit of cinnamon.
Yes, dude. That's one of my favorite meals. And
Yep.
everyone thinks I'm insane. And when I say everyone, I mean like non-bodybuilders. They're like, ew, you're putting almond butter on chicken. I'm like, shut the fuck up. You have no idea. Like
I'm
what?
like,
It's an
just try
Asian
it and it'll
dishes.
rock your world.
Oh my God. And like I can eat that cold. I can eat that hot. Like that
Okay.
combination. Oh my gosh. And the other combo that we all know, if you've been around since the beginning of Emily Hayden and Amanda Bucci, it was sweet potato chicken and peanut butter, a little bit of the monkey hot sauce sriracha, and Himalayan salt and cinnamon.
Oh,
Yeah.
Emily Duncan.
Yeah, Emily Duncan.
Yeah.
And Emily Hayden too, because they both had that one coach from Emily Duncan a long time ago. But they did that banana chicken sweet potato combination. And I was like, I don't understand this. Like, let me go make it one time.
See, I can't eat sweet potato, but that I could see that being really good.
Oh, it was great. It's like sweet
Can't
and
do a lot of sweet
salty.
potato anymore either.
Really?
It makes
Oh,
It's
I
me
love
super
it.
bloated.
Oh, yeah, I can understand. And same with like pumpkin. I can see
yeah,
that.
like oh, I can't.
Yeah, I can do butternut squash. I'll do that.
Okay.
But that's a little bit easier to digest. I don't know. Just for some reason, if I have like a lot of
hmm
sweet potato, can't do it.
What about white potato or Japanese? Japanese would be like in the middle.
I haven't tried the Japanese, but I can do like
Mm,
red potato, and that's okay. But like I'm eating
yeah.
like rice for like 3 meals a day now. So
You know what I've noticed? I can go to a restaurant and eat my body weight in sweet potato fries and I'm
yes.
hmm
fine.
Oh
Yes.
yeah. Yeah.
But there's some, I'm like, if it's fried in peanut oil, it's fine. But if I eat it, if I eat it in a clean, healthy way, my stomach's like, get the fuck out of here. No.
hmm Yep. Yep. I'm the same. Just weird things, man.
Yeah, it just goes to like my
Mm.
digestion is so much better when I'm just like eating a bunch of bullshit.
My
Like,
digestion never really gets off either. Like I've never really had any digestion issues.
yeah, no, I just, when I'm eating all clean bodybuilder food, I get like a little bit more sometimes like backed up. And that's when I know it's like the stress of it because it's not the food. Like I also can eat clean food off season and I'm fine. It's just like prep, you know what I mean? And then I just go eat a few other foods and then I'm like fine. I'm like, oh, okay.
Mhm.
Yes, the
That was
stress.
that was the one thing because I remember messaging both of you. It was last year. No, 2 years ago. So 2 years ago, when going into off season, it was everything was great, everything was fine, and then suddenly extreme bloating, no matter what.
Mhm.
And it didn't matter the foods, it didn't matter, what I was training or stressed. There was like no stress in my life except just normal work stuff. And it was just wild. And I was just like, all right, something's wrong here. And it was many months into off season, and it wasn't like I was pushing a lot of food. It was like 250 carbs and just normal fats and proteins, moderate. Um, so there's a lot of times like that's when you just got to get the GI map. And
Yeah.
I'm sorry, I can't go back to that FedEx.
Oh my God. We're all trauma bonded, like with the
I
GI.
can't because the lady still works there. Like I went there one time.
That was not what I was
You're like,
expecting to
here's my
say.
food.
I thought you were gonna be like, and I could never eat another like piece of low FODMAP food again. Like, I can't go back to that FedEx.
I can't go back. I'm traumatized because that lady handled my
Handled your
stuff.
shit, literally. Yeah. So for those that don't know, a DI map is where you have to put like a shit sample in a jar in like a little like vial thing. And it is traumatizing to say the least. It's
Layers.
fucked up. And I've had clients that have taken it and they're like, that was horrible. I'm like, there's something like really disturbing About
It's horrible. But then also, so I tried to lessen the pain of doing it by like putting it in the fridge so it wouldn't smell.
Thanks.
Bye.
I'm so lucky I live alone.
He couldn't get out of his jacket.
Well, he couldn't get out of his jacket.
That's why he came in here. He's like, I can't get out of my jacket. I'm like, just come in here. I'm like, I'll get it out for you. That's an everyday thing.
See, Carolyn, well, the reason I was worried about that. So what I did was I only like put the sample together when I like knew I was going to leave the house immediately.
Yeah, but
Oh, yeah.
that's what I couldn't go right away because of work. So I was like, okay, I'll just lessen the smell by leaving it in the fridge, and then
But didn't
it'll
you
be
like you
fine.
walk it in that thing, so it shouldn't, and then in a bag?
Yeah, but I was still worried. Like,
Yeah. I'm like, it
you know
shouldn't have
me. I
been
was
in a
like,
bag.
I can't hand the box over that smells. And I did give her the box. And
Yeah, but she
and it just
couldn't
from
smell it. Like it was,
yeah, I
it's,
know. Like the fact she doesn't know makes it more painful.
oh, got it. Okay. Yeah.
You're like, it's like the question, is there any perishable liquids, like whatever in there? And you're less like, nope. You don't want to know
Nope,
what's in there.
To be
you don't want
fair,
to know.
so
It's a
if
medical box though.
if people that don't know, you have to like shit on a tray. And then you have to, I'm sorry, you have to scoop part of it into this like medical plastic container that's like a little cylinder. And then you put that in a hazmat bag. And you put the hazmat bag in another hazmat bag. And then you put it in a medical grade box and then a FedEx box, and then you send it. It's not like we're taking a shit in a box and then like taking it to FedEx.
I mean, just
There's no,
right here.
no, and there's like in the little cylinder, there's like medical grade like a red liquid that's like whatever is supposed to sanitize. I don't know. Okay, enough is enough, but
It,
I'm just saying
yeah,
we're not like shitting over a FedEx box and then like taking it.
boy.
Fuck me. Oh my
You
God.
know, I've never had to take one of those yet, so now I know what to
Dude,
expect.
I don't know what it is. It's just, it's like, I hate the word trauma. I hate the word trigger.
They're overused.
I hate it.
Yep.
Something about that felt really fucked up. Like I was so repulsed by it. Obviously, like, it's just gross, but still, there was just something about the act of having to do it. It felt like disturbing. I don't know. And everyone when I've had clients do it, they're like, I don't feel right. Like, I know.
Like, God bless
I've
us,
had
for
clients.
doing that.
What, Carolyn?
God bless for us for doing that. Really
Yes.
proud of us.
I
We
know,
made
because
through
sometimes you
some
have to.
trauma.
Like,
Dude, and that's the thing too, because I can handle animal species like everyone else, but something about human, no, I can't do it. Like,
did you?
shout out to doctors and nurses because y'all
And
handle that stuff.
moms.
I'm
And
about to derail
moms,
this conversation. Are you ready?
ready?
Did you know? I mean, this won't surprise anybody. Obviously, there's a kink for certain people surrounding like human excrement. Do you know what it's called?
What's the word for it?
It's called scat play.
Yeah,
Okay, we're not kink shaming anybody here.
Are you
First.
shitting me right now? Sorry, I had to.
that
I am for sure
wow.
kink shaming. What in the living fuck?
But that also is like, it's not just gross, but that is also like kind of
Unsanitary.
dangerous because like you can get a lot of things from human feces.
I know.
Right,
But I
right.
didn't know there was like a terminology, which of
Yeah, I
course
didn't
there's
know
a
that.
terminology. There's a terminology for everything. But yeah, it's called scat play. And don't ask me why I know that. I'm on Reddit too much sometimes. And
I mean, there are people now that just piss and take shits in litter boxes. So, you know.
Oh, the cat people that identify as a cat.
That's a thing.
Carolyn.
We don't need to get started on this topic because we'll be on here
How we
forever.
do? I'm just saying.
I have real opinions about those people. So
Anywhoozin.
anyway,
Anywhoozin. Should we wrap it up for tonight?
We should end on that note. That's a good note. That's
It's a good way
like,
to end talking
we're gonna
about
leave
shit.
our audience disturbed and uncomfortable.
You're welcome.
so
Last week it was a
actually,
helmet. This week we're talking about shit.
also, since since our last topic, especially, I'll leave it at that. Everyone should go see the movie The Human Centipede.
No, no, how
Mm-mm.
dare
Mm-mm.
you?
Nope.
No,
Mm-mm.
because I already know. I already know. And
Nope.
a lot of people who are millennials will already know.
Yep.
And we're all trauma bonded by that movie. And
It was
oh
so,
my God. Look,
it was so awful. I think
What
it
a
was
way
like
to
what
end the podcast for tonight.
oh my
was
God.
wasn't it like eighth grade? Yeah, I think I was in eighth grade.
It hurts.
Oh,
Like, who? Well, here's my question. Someone came up with this concept to create this movie, and the who was like, I always like to imagine these conversations, how they go, where
Cocaine.
someone's like, bro, I have a phenomenal horror movie idea. And then they lay it out. And that person's like, fuck yeah,
Yeah,
dude.
let's do it.
And then you got to cast actors for it. And the actors are reading the script. And they're like, we're doing what now? And everybody signed off. It wasn't like some weird indie film on the internet. There were like dozens and hundreds of people that were like in alignment with the
like
premise of this
we're gonna
movie.
go see that. Like we're gonna go see that movie. No.
Yep, no thanks. I've never seen it, but I know what happens. That's why I've never seen it. But I unfortunately got roped into watching The Exorcist when I was 12, and that will forever haunt
Mm.
me in my dreams.
Oh
It's a
man,
good movie.
that's not
Good
nearly as
one.
Centipede. The
No.
Exorcist is like a classic.
It is,
Gross.
but at 12, I'm like being
Oh
the
yeah.
sheltered child that I was like, what am I watching? I'm like,
Yeah, for 12,
mm,
that'd be a
yep.
lot for 12.
I know
But
this is gonna sound crazy, but at 12 years old, the movie that really traumatized me was Air Force One.
Interesting.
how
Harrison
come?
Ford, the terrorist.
Oh,
Terrorist on a plane. Yep.
Mhm.
Full send. Now look at me now.
full send. You know what traumatized me? The Chucky movies.
Oh, those are
I,
hilarious.
nope.
If you have a doll,
Not for Amanda.
if you have a doll of any kind at your house, I'm not coming.
Oh hell
Just
no.
dolls
There's a
in
doll in the
general.
corner. Yeah, it's kind of weird.
Oh, my mom used to have an entire like hutch filled with like Cabbage Patch dolls when I was a kid.
Oh,
Oh,
And like, I'm so glad that we do not have that anymore because it was kind of creepy.
you know those, remember those like American Girl dolls?
oh
Hmm.
yeah, yeah.
And the eyelids moved?
Oh, that's creepy.
My
Oh,
aunt,
yeah. Yeah.
go ahead, go ahead.
Well, I was just about to go on a tangent about the Furbies.
Oh my fucking God, I forgot about those. Wasn't there like a group of them that glitch and they would just like come on by themselves at night or
Oh,
whatever?
I threw mine down to the basement and it kept talking. I It was purple. I Still in my mind.
Ugh,
I watched the Gremlin movie, so after that, I was like,
Uh,
no Furbies for me.
no
was it?
Furby.
And the
I had
thing is,
Furby.
Gremlin was before Furbies too.
Oh yeah. Gremlin was
Yeah,
like the 70s, right? Or the
That's
80s.
right, it
yeah,
was.
yeah.
I had one
Did we not?
Furby that I got for
Yeah, we
Christmas.
never learned our lesson. We never learned our lesson. Yeah, and also American Girl dolls. Who was it? Josefina. I had Josefina.
Oh, They
Hmm.
all had different nationalities.
Hmm. And the books were pretty good, actually.
There were books.
Yeah, there were like
That's what they're based on.
mhm.
Oh, I just hated them.
I
I
always
didn't like
wanted one
dolls.
so badly, and I never got one, which is fine now because now I'm like, yeah, nope, no thanks. I don't want to keep that. But yeah.
You know that's funny? I've always kind of wondered the psychology behind why young kids like baby dolls, like
Hmm.
babies. I'm like, I remember listening to someone talk about why kids to a certain age like taking care of like not just
Hmm.
dolls that are babies. Um, and pretending they're moms, you know what I mean? Like what I'm like, what the fuck is it about that? Because I always hated dolls. This is starting to explain a lot.
We're connecting the dots here.
Where as I said that, and I was like, never had like a huge maternal drive. And there's some other things like I have like fertility issues, but still, it was never like a supernatural feeling for me. And I'm like, maybe there's something wrong. Maybe I had like synapses crossed as a kid because all my friends loved dolls, and I'd be like, oh no, and I'd like kick it. I hated it. But I loved like animals, like stuffed animals, like My Little Pony, loved Scooby-Doo, Tom and Jerry. Like I loved animals, but I did not like dolls or even like human cartoons. I didn't like them.
That's interesting. It's funny because like the Aurora has said to me before, she's like, Kayla, when I grow up, I want to be a mom. And I'm like, you're so cute.
Oh,
And she's 5. And I'm like,
so cute.
she told me the other day too, she's like, or both of them, they're like, you should be a mom. And I was like, okay, not right now.
You're like, listen, if you have $1 million,
Mhm.
Yeah. Eggs and
Carolyn,
toilet paper.
like, literally
Carolyn's like, oof.
so much.
Eggs and toilet, just eggs and toilet paper. That's all I ask for.
That's all you guys, kids are such a beautiful gift.
Mm.
And a couple of my friends have children, and oh my gosh, I love seeing their little ones grow, and I love it so much. And it's not that I don't like kids, it's not that at all. I just never really had this like intense maternal drive. Like I was never like super against it, but I was never like, holy shit, this is my purpose. And I've had friends that were
Mhm.
like
Hmm.
that.
Yeah.
And I never even really, the only time I changed and I could see myself doing that was after I met Dan. Cause like when you're with someone you're in love with, it's like, oh my gosh, I could see us like creating a life together. And that was the only time where I was like, okay, maybe I could see and do this, you know what I mean? But and even like wanted it for sure. But yeah, aside outside of that, which is it was just never something that
Mhm.
I felt like was super meant for me.
I think all of us can relate in that.
Yeah, that's okay though. Like we've got
Yeah.
dogs and cats and
I mean, I have like I get to be like basically a bonus mom, which is awesome. You know,
exactly.
like I love it way more than what I thought I would. And I was like, this is fucking awesome. And I'm still like learning a lot of things because it's still like fairly new, but like I mean, I've even told you guys that like, maybe in like a couple years, like maybe I wouldn't be opposed to like trying to have one little crotch goblin, like why not?
Crotch and aw.
I'm like, like it would be kind of fun, I feel like. So, well, I mean, I'm not like set in stone on anything, and like there's still a lot that we have to talk about with that, but like it's finally the possibility has come across my mind, same as
Yeah.
you. Like when you meet the right person, it kind of changes things.
Oh, totally. Yeah. Cause with my ex, it was like, no fucking way.
Yep.
And I thought that was just strictly because
Hmm.
we both separately didn't want children. And then I met Dan and I was like, oh no, just because I wasn't with the right person. Okay.
You're
That makes
like, this is what it feels like for your ovaries to hurt. Like when girls say that, I never understood what it meant.
yeah.
I get it now.
Which is like, it makes sense. That's like, there has to be a drive to procreate,
Yep.
obviously. Like, there has to be those hormones that are released when you're just in love and connecting and all those things. And that's the natural thing to want to then do.
Mhm.
It's like, it's just a biological thing. Um, And when Dan never wanted kids either. And we were both like, the fuck's happening to us? Yeah.
Yeah. Anyway.
Yeah. Okay, anyway.
So yeah, okay, I guess we're gonna end on the note of kids now.
It's a better one than the human centipede.
It's
So
better. Yes, I agree. That's a much better way to end it for tonight. So
Yeah.
this was a
I
good
always know how
one.
to make it awkward. So
I do too, dude. I was talking about scat play right before you. So it's not like any of us, it's not like
A great
oh
similarity
God.
we all share is just being awkward. So yeah.
It is what it is. We're just ourselves. And that's
Tyler
all.
says that
do
that's
you,
my best quality.
Yeah.
He's like, you're
Wait,
so
what's your best quality? What did you?
he's like, you're just so
what?
awkward. I'm like, I don't know how to do these
I
things.
don't think you're that awkward. Like I think of, okay, when I think of awkwardness, I think of someone that's making other people feel awkward. You know what I mean? Like
Oh.
you're creating this kind of uncomfortable energy that usually comes from some kind of social discomfort where you're not like you're saying things that don't make sense in the conversation or creating uncomfortable silences that don't make sense or
Mm-hmm.
just not super someone that's just kind of socially uncomfortable. That's what I think of awkward. I think we like overuse a lot. Dude, you are not like that whatsoever. You're funny and you have quirks just like we all do, but I've never been in a social situation with you where I'm like, ooh,
Read the room.
I'm like, oh yeah. Oh, totally. Cause you meet those people and you're like,
And you would tell me too. You're like, dude, that was awkward.
I would be like, why are you being so fucking weird right now?
And that's why we're all friends.
And that's why we're all friends. Yeah, no. I think we all just have our quirks, but it's what makes us all like individual and fun. But yeah, you've never like created some fucked up energy in a room or anything like that.
Okay, well, that's good. I know
Yeah.
he's just giving me shit. He just gives me shit for it because I just
Oh,
don't know
he's
how to
just
do
playing.
things.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, 100%. No, it's just funny. So, all right, well, we'll talk to you guys.
What was
I don't know.
the goalpost?
I support.
I support. Ah, oh my God. I love you guys.
All right, I
I'm
love you
done.
guys. We'll talk to you in a
But
couple weeks. Actually, in 2 weeks, is it the Arnold?
Yes.
Oh, fuck yeah. Okay, so we're off in 2 weeks. We're on the week after to review the Arnold. So,
Yes. 100%.
but we'll see you guys in 2 weeks. I can't freaking wait. So excited.
you took
So excited. I love you guys so much. Have a good night.
Love you.
Bye.
You. Bye.